Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Today, we are reading one of our favorite, or like one of the parts of our favorite series by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, and that is Batman The Long Halloween, the Catwoman section called When in Rome. So this is part of, I guess it's part of that Long Halloween series. That's how DC releases it now, but I think when it came out, it was just like, oh, they're doing their thing again. I'm not sure if it was actually, I guess it is part of the Long Halloween series because it does tie into Dark Victory. But as you may have heard us do Long Halloween, and then we've done all the other Marvel Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale books, we love this creator team. Now, John, had you heard of this part of it before?
Yeah, I've only from our doing a deep dive on them and finding that we really love, we're loving all their stuff. So I had an idea about it. But yeah, I was like, I don't know, like is a solo Catwoman story gonna be as interesting? I was still a little like, even though it's our guys, our boys, RIP to Tim Sale, of course.
Of course, yeah.
I still was like, I don't know, we'll see. Like, we know it's gonna be beautiful, but like, I wonder how the story is gonna be.
Really?
But
I had full faith in our boys. So
I guess I shouldn't say, it's not that I didn't think the story wasn't gonna be good. I was just gonna be like, am I gonna care? There we go. About a solo Catman story. I was like, we'll see.
Catwoman.
Did I say Catman?
You said Catman.
Oh, Catwoman. Yeah, sorry.
Do you not like solo Catwoman books?
I've never read one.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I guess you know what it is.
You know, Brubaker and Darwin Cook did a whole run on Catwoman, right?
No, I was unaware of that.
Yes, it's fucking fantastic. You should read more Catwoman.
Apparently, I'll say this is, you know what it is that when I was a kiddo reading comics when I was younger, I only read a couple like main titles, and I don't think I had any like female centric characters that I was
sexist.
Like, yes, I was a sex. No, I read the comics that for like heroes that I was into. I just didn't go really outside.
Yeah, you just don't like women in tight outfits jumping around. I guess that's what.
Well, that's definitely something I missed out because, again, especially with Mr. Tim Sale's artwork,
fantastic. We all know my thoughts on the Tim Sale Catwoman from Long Halloween. Good God, is she attractive? And in this book, it's even more so. I mean, you might already be able to tell, I fucking loved it. It was everything I wanted from them, in a story. And then also it tied into Long Halloween and Dark Victory. And so, yeah, like I really thought that this was a really good little 6-issue series in contrast to the Dark Victory and Long Halloween. I think those are 13-issue series. So those are really long, like maxi series. And this is a nice little 6-issue miniseries that gets right to the point. And speaking of right to the point, it starts off with Catwoman having a dream, but we don't know it's a dream at first. She's stealing some money from Roman Falcone's house, and Batman shows up, and they have a big fight. And then as they're like getting into it, we see the Joker shows up, and then Two-Face shows up, and all these other bad guys show up. And then Batman and her end up on a ledge, and as they're like, flirting with each other, Batman takes off his mask, and it's Falcone is Batman. And so then she wakes up and she's like, what the fuck? And so turns out she's on a plane. That was a dream, of course. And she's heading to Italy. This picks up after Dark Victory, and I haven't read Dark Victory in years, and you've never read it, right?
No.
Okay. So this just picks up, and you don't know exactly why she's going to Italy, but it's kind of, I guess, from that series, like you're supposed to know where she's going or why she's going to Italy. But I mean, I didn't have any trouble really following it. They do explain why later on.
No, I get it. I assumed she was there to steal stuff at first, and then they make it.
Yeah, just like get out of Gotham or whatever.
Exactly.
yeah, so we see her and Edward Nygma, the Riddler, is traveling with her. And we don't really know why they're traveling together, other than like he's supposed to just help her out with, I guess, robbing or figuring out, capers or whatever. And then at the airport, she runs into, I guess, she's getting picked up by this blonde guy, um, who I don't remember why she's being picked up by him, but she is. And
Yeah,
it's like,
well,
oh, what?
because I think well, even Edward's like that. Who the hell is this guy? And she's like, well, you're the Riddler. You should have figured it out right now.
Right. So I think this must be stuff like from Red or Dark Victory. Um, and so, yeah, like she's staying in like a very fancy hotel and also, like getting picked up by mob people and stuff. So, we can assume that whatever has happened in Dark Victory is kind of what led to this. But we don't really know that unless you've read Dark Victory. I was just along for the ride, and I didn't really feel like I needed any of that explanation either. I was like, all right, she's over here. Something's going on where she's, with the mob ish, and she's taking bubble baths naked. That's all I care about right now. So, yeah, so she's at her hotel, she's chilling, and then we do get this creepy, like Edward's kind of creeping around her room as she's taking a bath. So they they definitely hint that he's got some kind of weird fascination or crush on her, early on, like within the very first issue. Um, but she decides to take off, and like this is where I pretty much thought like, okay, we kind of know why she's here. She's here to pay Don Verini a visit, who I guess is like the head of the mob, that Falcone is, a part of or whatever. So
Yeah.
she goes to his house, and as she sneaks in, he opens a bottle of wine, he starts drinking it, and then as they're talking, or she starts to ask him questions about stuff, all of a sudden he starts laughing, and then his face gets all jokerized. So there was the Joker toxin inside of his wine, and that's what kicks this off. Like he was poisoned, and now the head of this mob family is dead, and they think she did it because they did see her on the premises, running away as she's getting out of his house.
When she knocked out some guards, she said on the way in.
Yeah, that too, but like, they do see her as well. So, yeah, I thought, I love the way Tim Sale draws her as she's like running around, jumping on buildings and stuff. But then also like you get the action side of her as well as the like sexy pose side, which is usually how those scenes end in her. Like she'll be running and it looks all sleek and cool and action, like Trinity or something from the Matrix.
Yeah.
And then when she pauses at the end, like does a, some kind of gymnast jump and twirl or tumble or whatever, and then sticks the landing, then she looks like hot in the light or whatever as the purple costume reflects off of her, off the light in the area. So,
But yeah, like you said, they really does a really good job of like showing her being Catwoman. Like she's very nimble and like doing crazy jumps and whatnot.
yeah. So she gets back from this caper gone bad, I guess, or whatever she was doing over there to talk to this Dawn, and I guess when she gets back, it looks like she's brought two costumes, because the costume that she wears when she goes to the Dawn's house is like all black, so it's more like the like Michelle Pfeiffer version without the sewing seams all over the place. And then when she comes back, she's like Edward Nygma is in her purple costume from the Dark Victory stuff. And then he's wearing it very creepily, I might add. And she's like, "What the fuck are you doing with my stuff?" And then we get some pictures of her sleeping naked, which I'm fine with. But then she's having a dream. Of course, Batman shows up, and then he pulls out a gun. And so that's like the common theme is she keeps having dreams about Batman, and it's very weird. And then she like, as she's fighting with Batman in her dream, she wakes up and then she ends up fighting with someone else. And the someone else this time is that blonde mob guy who's like her driver and stuff. And she's like on top of him naked, and he's like, "Buongiorno," like, "Scusi." And so yeah, like there's obviously chemistry there. Um, and so he kind of becomes like her, not bodyguard, but like uh her accomplice in this, because he's like, oh, everybody's looking for you, and she's like, well, we got to get the fuck out of this house then. And so they kind of run away, and he hides her on his yacht. Um, and then they're like, okay, well, we need to go um, to talk to, what is it, like other, there's some other like boss that she goes to fight who's also on a yacht.
Well, yeah, it's the son of the main guy because they're saying if anybody's trying to kill her, it's probably him. It's Guillermo is the son's name.
Yes, so she goes to confront Guillermo, and as she's like going to attack everybody and everybody's shooting at her and stuff, she like does this jump over the top of the boat, and she gets shot with a Mr. Freeze gun that Guillermo has, which is very weird. You know, you wouldn't think that he would have something like that, right? So she's frozen, and then it seems like Edward Nygma turns on her, because he's like drawing, like right at the beginning of issue 3, he's like drawing targets on the ice where she's frozen in. And the whole time she's frozen, she's like conscious. She's in her mind saying like, you know, she only has this couple minutes to live. And then, like I said, Edward's drawing these bullseyes on her ice. And then, but I guess the Guillermo just lets her live and they leave, because we see the blonde guy comes over to her and he shoots the ice around Selena. And that's like how she gets out.
We're in the bullseye spots. So he was actually.
Oh, was that what it was? Okay, like I was confused because I was like, wait, is he aiming for her?
Yeah, I think it was meant to look like that, but then it says in his line, he's like, yeah, just shoot here, 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 and here, and that'll.
Oh, okay, I got confused then. But then so of course she's like not doing well after that. She gets like hypothermia and all this stuff. So then she has another dream where Batman's like got her on a surgical table and it looks like he's going to slit her throat. And then they have another big fight. And then she wakes up choking Edward Nygma. And she's like, what's going on? And he's like, I saved you along with Blondie over here, who's the mob guy that's taking her around. What's his name? Oh, I don't remember what.
Christopher. It's Christopher
okay.
Castillo.
Okay, so Christopher is the blonde guy. She calls him Blondie all the time, so I didn't bother to learn his name. So she gets up, and it's funny because like she's like, well, we went out as like he rescued me as Selena from the hotel. Then we ended up on his yacht, and then all of a sudden Catwoman shows up here and he saved her. But then so like there's like this weird like, does he know she's Catwoman or not? And she thinks he does, but she plays along with it like, oh, maybe he doesn't know. So there's like a back and forth between them.
Yeah, and even Edward kind of is like, yeah, I took off your Catwoman suit, so you know, he wouldn't see like it, you were under it or whatever.
Right. Oh yeah. And then Edward's like, oh, and I didn't mind taking off your suit or whatever. And she's like, what the fuck? Like you little perv. Yeah, because she wakes up, I don't know if she's naked, but she's definitely under the covers in bed or whatever when she grabs Nygma by the throat. And so, yeah. But then, so Christopher tells her, look, what you should do is capture this ring that is like the ring of all the Dawns. So it's like the one ring to rule them all, but for the mob. So anybody who has this ring is like officially the head of the mob of all the families. And so, of course, it turns out that all the mob families knew about this ring and they all agreed no one should wear it. But of course they want it secretly, and they hid it at the Vatican so that no one would get it because they're all super Catholic. So Christopher's like, if you steal this ring, I could maybe we'll be okay with Giovanni or with Guillermo. Like if you give it to him, you guys like will be tight. Like he won't kill you. And so she breaks into the Vatican where it's being held. And
sorry, one quick thing I just want to point out, because it is important here, is that while they're going through that, they're also kind of talking a little bit about their history. And she, because they're asking about like, you know, childhood and whatnot. And he asks about his, why did you come here? And he says, well, it's because there was a man, his name was Carmine Falcone. He's like, hey, I know that guy. He was my godfather. So that way, so that kind of gives them a little extra connection that will assumingly find.
Yes. So yeah, that just like kind of, I think it actually makes their relationship more complicated, because if he was just like not related to anybody important, then it would be easier for her, as opposed to like if she wants to kill Falcone, or if she's related to Falcone or something, then it's like, oh, well, now it's kind of weird because we're like kind of family or whatever. So, but anyway, I don't think you're allowed to date your, like, if he's the godson of Falcone, are you allowed to date him if you're the daughter of Falcone?
I mean, there's weird rules.
I'm sure there's a weird rule there, but anyway, um, so she breaks into the Vatican, no problem. You know, she does her whole Catwoman thing until, as she's finishing stealing this ring, Cheetah shows up, the Wonder Woman villain, who is more cat than woman. So it's kind of like a fun fight. And the fourth issue starts off with them having this awesome fight. We also get like a flashback sequence that fills you in on all the stuff about like what happened at the end of Dark Victory, I'm assuming, where we see Catwoman getting this picture of Falcone and Falcone's wife holding a baby girl. And this is the first time they kind of allude to it. Later on, they do mention it, where she's supposed to be the daughter of Falcone. Like, Selina never knew who her parents were, I guess. And she finds out that she thinks she is this baby no one ever knows about. No one knows what happened to her, but she's got pictures of it. Apparently, you know, the Falcones got rid of it in some way or whatever. But
yeah, because Falcone has his daughter. She's the one that's kind of Sophia.
Masculine.
She's like, yeah, very very beefy.
Yes. She's a bruiser, we call her.
Yeah, she I mean, she kick everybody's ass.
Yeah. So, but yeah, then we cut out of that flashback from Dark Victory, I'm assuming, and we cut to Cheetah and her fighting over this ring. It's pretty epic fight. It looks like, you know, definitely there's some back and forth, but Cheetah is definitely stronger. She has like an actual like cat mutation. It reminded me of when, I don't know if you remember the animated series episode where like Selina gets turned into a cat person.
Oh yeah,
by
yeah.
like some Island of Dr. Moreau guy.
That's right. Yeah, and she's in like a cage. Batman goes inside. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, Selina, and then and then there's like some what's his name? Tiger or Tigress or
tight. Yeah.
Something with a T. I can't remember what his name is, but there's some like wolf man or like cat man that she's like, I guess I'm a cat now. I should be in love with this guy because he's in love with me. And
is it Wildcat?
No, Wildcat is from JSA. He's a JSA character. Because she says in this fight, she's like, I learned all these moves from Wildcat, who's like a hero in the Justice Society of America. He's just a man like her that dresses up in a cat suit and fights. And he used to be like a world heavyweight boxer back in the 40s or whatever. So, little deep cut for you there, John. Is that who you thought it was when you were reading this? Did you know who Wildcat was?
I think I did. I think I've seen his suit before.
Okay.
But it just right now when we're talking about it, I was trying to remember that character, because there is also a Cat Man too, isn't there?
No, not
there's
that
too
I
many.
know of.
There's too many. Too many freaking characters.
There's no Cat Man that I know of. There's Wildcat, who is the JSA guy hero, and he has no powers, just like Catwoman. He's just a fighter. And then Catwoman, of course, and then the Wonder Woman villain Cheetah, who she's fighting right now. Now, as they're fighting, we do see like a scope settle on Cheetah when it looks like Catwoman's about to lose, or not lose, but like she's in trouble. Then Catwoman gets the upper hand. Then we see a scope center on Cheetah's head. Then we hear blam, and it turns out Christopher is like, he's a mob assassin, so he's a really good shot, and she thinks that he's totally murked Cheetah, but it turns out that Cheetah he shot her with a tranq dart. But then when she's like, "Oh, I got the ring," because she took in their fight, Cheetah took the box, but she took the ring out of the box. So Cheetah thought, "Oh, I got the ring. I'm going." And then I like this part where Christopher's like, "Where did you put the ring?" And then she like points to between her tits. She's like, "Oh, I've got it." And then he's like blushing or whatever. So I thought that was funny. There were some parts in this that were pretty funny, like innuendos. Uh, I thought they did a good job of some of those. I'll pull up my favorite ones coming up later, um, but then right when she's like, "Oh, I got the ring," he like pulls a gun on her, and then like he wants it, I guess, because that would mean maybe he could be the head mob guy. But she cuts his barrel in half, and then he goes away for as Catwoman. She goes away, but then she goes back to his yacht, and it's like, okay, so she's Selina now. So they both know that she's Catwoman, but like they're pretending for each other. So she's Catwoman when they're fighting, and then when she goes, kind of like Batman, and then like when she goes back to the yacht, she is pretending to be Selina, or she is Selina pretending to be not Catwoman. So, and we get a lot of her in her underwear in this scene because she starts to hallucinate again as she's putting on bandages from her cheetah fight. And as she's hallucinating, she sees Batman, and Batman's like, "Just come here," or whatever. Like, I don't remember what he says. He says he loves her, and then she's like, "What?" And then he pulls her close, and they start kissing. And then we get the last panel on this issue, which is of her kissing Edward. And then we start the next issue right away with her kissing him, and then like her opening her eyes and realizing it's not Batman, and her being like, "What the fuck?" And she kicks him off the boat and into the water, which I thought was fun. And then so she's still in her underwear, and Christopher comes up and is like, "What happened? What did he do?" And then as she's like going off about how he's like a creep or whatever, he's like, "Oh, by the way, you are still in your underwear. Not that I don't appreciate it." And then she's like, "Oh my God." She like covers herself and then goes back inside. And when I say underwear, I mean like Victoria's Secret style lingerie or whatever. So it's very form fitting.
Very scantily clad.
Yes. And I am okay with this, John. And so I love the way he draws Selina. I think this is probably my favorite Selina next to the animated series one.
Yeah.
I thought the animated series one looks really interesting because she's got that blonde hair and the green eyes that are very striking.
Yeah.
But like next to that, this is my favorite like comic book version of Selina. She just looks like super Italian, we'll say, I guess, or like Mediterranean, or like kind of like Elektra or something.
Yeah, that's perfect. I was gonna say, especially if she happens to be Carmine's daughter, like it makes sense. She's got that thick black Mediterranean Italian hair, very like luscious and like curls everywhere. And then yeah, she's very shapely and like, she's got to where it counts.
Yeah, she's what do they call it? Her milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
That's sure.
That's what they say. The young kids say. So anyway, this was one of my favorite parts. She like, as this issue gets past the part where she's in her lingerie, they come up with a plan where she's still got the ring, and she like puts it on a fishing pole, like a line, and then she goes over to Guillermo's house. And as they're talking about like, what are we gonna do? They're talking in Italian, but you can kind of understand what they're talking about just because Italians, some of the words are similar enough that you know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And so as they're talking about like, what are we gonna do about this like cat or whatever, and like we need to get that ring. She casts the ring into the room and then like pulls it outside before they can grab it, and then as they come outside, to get it, all of a sudden there's a gun or like a laser pointing at Guillermo, and she's like, "Look, I think we can, like, I didn't kill your dad, and I think we can come to an agreement. Like, I'll actually give you the ring. I don't give a shit. And like, you just answer my questions. Where's the Roman's wife? Where is Falcone's wife? Because that's actually why she came to Rome, we find out. This was kind of out of nowhere to me because if you don't read Dark Victory or you haven't read it for a while, I totally forgot that the storyline that she is supposed to be Falcone's, or she suspects that she's Falcone's daughter. So she's asking like, she says, I'll give you the ring, but just tell me where Luisa Falcone is. And it turns out that she's at a convent. And I was kind of like, is she just trying to get Falcone? Like, is that the whole point? Like maybe he's in hiding or something. But when she breaks into this convent where Luisa is, you know, she's like in her habit or whatever, and she's reading, I guess she's blind. She must have been blinded.
She said she's blind. Yeah.
She says she's blind. She's reading a book in Braille. I'm assuming it's the Bible, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. And, you said that she looks different, right? Than she did in the comic or in the pictures in Dark Victory. Like, you said she had some kind of work done. Is that right?
Nope.
Oh, I thought you said that she had like her scars removed or something like that.
Oh, no, that's the Sophia goes to Italy.
Oh,
just to get her specifically her facial scars. Like
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I thought you had meant Luisa. My bad. So, Catwoman goes there and is like, "Did you have a daughter, like a second daughter?" And she's like, "Nope, definitely didn't have a second daughter." Even though like Catwoman has that picture, and she's like, "You must be mistaken." So Catwoman's like, "Fine, I'm sorry, I'll leave." And then as she leaves, we see Christopher. And I thought this was going to be like a dun dun dun, like he's evil or something. But he comes out of the shadows and they say something to each other in Italian. Basically, he says, yes, assassinate Catwoman. But it's in Italian. Luckily, assassinate is a very similar word in Italian because I knew that. So, so it seems like he's working for her and maybe they're, you know, he's been kind of in the background just teaming up with her to get, you know, one up on her or whatever. And then as she's coming home from this, or home, when I say home, I mean the yacht, Christopher's yacht. She starts looking at the photos again of the baby and Falcone and his wife holding her. And then,
and this is the thing. Cause it looks like it's Falcone and her, but they're in different gowns. So it's like, so obviously there's two different babies.
Yes. Yeah. That's the thing. Like it is apparent that there are more than one baby, and they don't really ever solve it in this, but we can assume that Sophia's lying at the end of this, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and if I remember correctly, there have been adaptations where she is Falcone's daughter.
I don't remember any of that. So I don't remember an adaptation where she was. So maybe I feel
like I remember reading something of that. And then obviously more recently the Batman with Pattinson.
Oh, is she Falcone's daughter in that? Oh yeah, she is, isn't she? Okay, maybe that's where, because that is supposed to be from the Long Halloween. They took a bunch of that for that movie. So maybe that's where they got that from.
Oh yeah, that's true. Maybe.
Interesting. The plot thickens. Anyway, so she's looking at this picture, and then all of a sudden, Batman appears, and she's like, "What?" And I don't know about you, but I kept waiting for Batman to actually appear, like to where these visions actually one of them ends up being true, but we don't get that. At least right now, all of these have just been a fake Batman, because we see him stab her through the arm with like a rapier as he comes at her, and then they start fighting, and then it turns out that the Riddler, like once she like realizes she's in a dream and she comes out of it, it is the Riddler who stabbed her, and then he's with Cheetah and Scarecrow and Guillermo, who has Mr. Freeze's gun. So that's the big drop, right?
Yeah, and that basically every time she's been dreaming throughout this, like I assume every time, if not at least this time, it's been because of the Scarecrow's toxin.
Yeah. The Riddler's been dousing her with, or dosing her, I mean, with fear toxin. And that is why she keeps, like, I assume it's as she's sleeping. Like, she fell asleep on the plane at the beginning and he dosed her. Then, and then she had that nightmare. Then, you know, every time she's falling asleep, somehow he's dosing her, and then she has weird dreams about Batman. and we don't know why he's doing it. And it's kind of a weird, but she puts two and two together, and she's like it makes sense that obviously Edward is the one who's been fucking with her because, he knows all these villains. He actually left like halfway through, like issue 3 or whatever, to go to Gotham, and he left a note like, I had to go to Gotham real quick, I'll be back. And then that's right after that is when Cheetah appears. So it's like he's obviously been going behind her back, and she's figured it out now. So
yeah.
Then this was actually a surprise to me. So Edward, after this big fight happens, she freezes everybody, or she beats everybody up except Edward. He gets away, but he stabs Mr. Freeze's gun when she grabs it, and it ends up like going out of control and freezing Cheetah and Scarecrow, as he runs out. And then he rigged the yacht to blow, so they get away. Luckily, Selina gets away.
I do want to say I really dug the fight, specifically like she's using like everybody against each other a little bit too, because like she's obviously she's not quite as strong as Cheetah, but
I like how she does it. She's like, you got to take out the one who's like, you got to go methodical about fighting multiple people. So Cheetah is the like meta human, right? So she goes for her first. Then she's like, then I can take care of Scarecrow because he's got fear toxin. Then Edward is just a fucking idiot with a sword, so I can take care of him last. But then it turns out that, he actually, with his sword, was able to fuck up her freeze gun. So, yeah. So then after that, she gets away from the boat as it starts to explode or lights on fire. I think Edward set it to blow, basically. And so then we see Christopher ends up being the one who comes to save her as she like falls in the water and jumps off the boat. And then Christopher comes up on a little second boat and saves her. So it turns out that the whole time you're kind of thinking like, oh, maybe it is a thing or whatever. Like maybe either he's in love with her or he's trying to pretend to be in love with her so he can kill her. You never really know. But he does give her some information about that he says, no, Luisa Falcone did have a second baby, was born at this hospital. He takes her to the hospital. And then he tells her like, I love you. And then, and then they like kiss and stuff. Then Christopher goes back to Luisa in the convent, and he's like, I'm still working on it. I'm almost there. I'm just about to kill Catwoman. And Luisa knows that he's full of it. He's in love with her. And so she kills him. She pulls out a gun and shoots him in the back of the head as he's walking away from her. So I did not see that coming. Did you see that coming?
No, not at all. I get that maybe he can't stick around forever and whatnot, but I was surprised because, like you said, he pulls her out of the water. He's like, "Hey, Selina," even though she's in full Catwoman. So we get okay, yeah, he did know the whole time.
Yes,
or at least he put it together. And then yeah, like it was kind of neat to be like, oh, he double crossed his aunt, or like, yeah, his aunt. And he's like, yeah, no, like he totally knows like there was a second daughter, and so like, if that's what you think, maybe that's what it is, but like it's definitely like he knows that information, and then yeah,
she can't let him live because he knows too much, and then she knows that he's in love with Selina now, so because she's not dead.
Yeah, so that was kind of interesting. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, but Selina and him had made plans to meet at the airport. They were going to run away together. She was at least somewhat in love with him for real, and he's infatuated and in love with her. So as she's going to the airport, she gets kidnapped, or at least she gets a knife to her throat by Edward Nigma, and he's in his little Riddler suit, which I appreciated. And she's like, okay, you want the ring? Here's the ring. So because she got the ring back, or actually she never gave it to Guillermo, I guess, because I think he was knocked out or whatever. So she's like, well, fuck it. And so she takes the ring and gives it to the Riddler, and it's in a ring box. And then he's like, and then as he's flying away on the plane, she's like, I almost feel sorry for him. Like he's a smart guy, but he's pretty dumb when like with some things. And then we see him on the plane and he's pulling the ring out of the ring box, and you see this fear toxin begin to come out of the ring box because it was booby trapped. And then all of a sudden he is surrounded by jokers, because she says when he's about to leave on the plane, or as he's taking the ring from her, she's like, you better watch out because Joker's going to be pissed that you used his Joker toxin. Because it turns out that Edward, I think we kind of skipped over this part, Edward was the one who set up everything, not just dosing her with fear toxin, not just bringing over the bad guys, but also killing the head Dawn because he wanted this ring for himself for some reason. I don't think they ever tell you exactly why he wanted it, do they?
And not specifically the ring, but he did say that he also was hoping that Selena would tell his secret identity, and so that she would tell him, like,
oh, that's what it was. Yeah, he was dosing her because he thought Selena knew who Batman was, and so he was hoping, he was hoping that she would reveal it in one of her like panicked, fear states or whatever. But she never did. So, and she does know who he is, right?
Yeah,
she calls him Bruce or whatever, like in her head sometimes. So, and then so as she's at the airport and waiting for Christopher, she's like, I would have thought that he would be the one to leave me hanging at the airport. And then we get a real sad picture of him getting, on the ground with his eyes open as his, blood is pooling around his face. I'm like, holy shit. It's a pretty hardcore way for Christopher to go, I think. And then she flies back to Gotham. And then, so now she kind of knows that, Falcone is her dad and he was killed. I don't know if it was in, I don't remember if it was in, I don't think it's in Long Halloween. It must be in Dark Victory. Because she goes to his grave and she leaves some flowers and says like, I never talked to you while you were alive. I just stole from you a bunch because I knew you were my father and I deserved, that life or whatever. So, I deserve to have money like you had and all that stuff. So that's where she got that from. Or that's what she does at the end. She kind of leaves a rose for him on his grave and then leaves it at that. Damn, I'm looking for the one quote that Christopher says. I want to say it's like he does like a an innuendo where it's like, oh I think it's when she's naked or whatever, I think, or not naked, but when she's in her lingerie, and she says it's something she says actually. He says like, oh, don't worry about it, and then in her like her little purple narration, she says, men, they can only thinking about playing with kitties or something like that. And she was talking about like pussy. So I don't remember where that is, but it made me laugh though. That's like, it made me laugh out loud because it's very like, very not out of character, but I just wasn't expecting it in this. Cause in like Long Halloween and stuff, she is not as as much of a main character. So she doesn't say stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's not like it's not from her point of view. So I liked that they gave her own like voice in this,
very much so. I was gonna say that's one of my favorite things was I loved her inner monologue with herself, like whether she was the dreamer or awake or not. It was captivating. It made me enjoy her character much more than I thought I would.
Yeah, I can't believe that you were apprehensive about this because we love this team so much,
Yeah, but again, it wasn't that I didn't think I wouldn't enjoy it. I just didn't know if I would like it as much as like the Batman story. Like I was like, would I like just a solo Catwoman? Like that's like I see, and like you've told me it's good, but we haven't read it yet, so I can't confirm. But it's like,
well, I hadn't read this either. This is the first time I've read it.
No. But when you, because I was like, I think it was when they did the show, and you're like, well, there's a whole comic for it. The Gotham PD. I was like, why do I care about the Gotham Police Department? I care about Batman.
Oh yeah.
Like, actually, no, it's a good comic too. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't even know. I mean, I should have guessed there was a comic, but yeah. So,
is there a Gotham PD show?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you said you like.
There's a show called Gotham, but that's not strictly a Gotham PD show. And it's not like the comic at all. But I highly recommend the comic. GCPD is a great comic.
Yeah, that's the one you were telling me. Like,
yeah,
you're like, no, it's really good. Like yeah, Batman shows up here and there, but like the actual like the stuff that happens with the police department is really cool.
Well, because I like it because it fleshes out Renee Montoya as a character. It fleshes out Bullock as a character. Like, there's a lot of cool cop characters. It actually has the guy that ends up becoming the Spectre after Hal Jordan. It was a cop on the GCPD. So,
cool.
Yeah, like there's a lot of cool characters that are in the background of Batman that get explored in that series, and it's only like I think it's like a 50 or 60 issue run. It's not too long. But yeah, we'll read that sometime. But yeah, like to me, these guys, you can't lose with this creative team. There is nothing that they have done that I do not like.
No, and that's what I was gonna say too. Is like, so you couldn't tell from the beginning, but I can tell you from the end of this, like, yeah, I fucking enjoyed this. This is a really good story. I will probably go out and get the hardcover of this too for my own collection. Like, I wouldn't say that I was gonna get all of their stuff like per se, but like I definitely like this. I will. And we'll definitely have to read Dark Victory, and was it The Haunted Night? I think is the third one.
Yeah, Haunted Night is like a prequel, and it's just a couple like random issues that are like they were like specials in the Legends of the Dark Knight series.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I'm sure they're good. But then Dark Victory is like a solid 13 issue series follow up to The Long Halloween.
Nice.
So we will definitely be reading that. I'm assuming this year because I kind of want to read it. So.
Oh yeah, I'm down.
But yeah, so with that being said, John, would you give it, and what'd you think?
Yeah, I absolutely loved it again. Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. That's kind of like our podcast like favorite creators. I would say it's the ones we've always like been like, man, like every time we would finish it, and even ones like you didn't think the Spider-Man was gonna hit you as much because you're not as big as Spider-Man, but
it was fantastic.
Spider-Man Blue, you were like, God,
I bought the gallery edition
yeah.
after that. It was $50. I spent $50 on a book about Spider-Man.
That's a rarity. That is huge for Matt Hansen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I'm there for it. And yeah, like this, I was like, oh wow, Catwoman on her own. Her monologue, her inner dialogue was really cool. I really enjoyed that. It really made her like she was funny, but not like Spider-Man.
No, it's different. It's like she was her own character. It was distinct.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9. Like it was really good.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna be crazy and like give it a 9, and you'd be like, "What?" But yeah, I'm also going to give it a 9. I'm almost tempted to give it a 9.5 because Tim Sale can draw a very, very, very good Catwoman.
They better not ever make a statue this year.
A life-size statue. but yeah, like I love Tim Sale's art. It's so sad that he passed recently, but like everything that he does especially in this Batman series is iconic and fantastic. The fact that they pulled off, like you said, a solo Catwoman book. Now, I think at this time the one that Darwin and Brubaker had done had already come out and it was successful and everything. So it had been proven as like a thing. So probably them pitching this wasn't crazy because this came out in like 2005. And I think the Darwin Cook Catwoman came out in 2000 or 2002 or something like that. So it was already a proven, like if you have a good creative team, she can sell. So it wouldn't be crazy that they would greenlight this. But I like that it's in the continuity of Long Halloween, yet you don't have to read them to like this or to get into it, because they did a good job of like, they mixed some stuff into it that hinted at things that happened in Dark Victory. And even I was like, wait, is that something I missed? But it was like, oh no, that was in Dark Victory. I assumed that. I was just like, oh, we're coming into this. This is a sequel to Dark Victory. So I'm assuming there's some stuff I won't know. But that stuff didn't really matter. It just kind of, the stuff that needed to be explained was explained. And yeah, I fucking loved it. Jeff Loeb, Tim Sale, knock it out of the park again. I am going to give it a 9.5 because Tim Sale can draw her very well, and the writing was fantastic. You give it a 9. So, yeah, I think all around this is a very good comic, and people should definitely pick it up. So with that,
don't forget, if you want to be a part of our Patreon members get to vote for our second episode every month in our monthly poll, and they get a bonus exclusive episode just for Patreon members. So patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word. And this month, Matt and I, we talked to a very tiny bit, and I went and kind of made an executive decision that we're doing femme fatales for the month of April. So we're starting off strong with Catwoman, coming out bold with a one we both really loved. And so our poll, we don't have it quite all filled out, but it will be up. Should be the next day or two.
Yeah.
And when you check that out, there will be a slew of femme fatales to choose from. They're going to be female character driven badasses.
I like it. All right. Well, with that being said, also don't forget we're doing Berserk Part 2 for our exclusive this month as well. So
that's right. We're continuing the road on the Berserk
of the
road.
Golden Age Berserk. So if you want to listen to us talk about Berserk, the Golden Age, we're doing the 3-part series. Part 2 is this month. So definitely go check us out on patreon.com/planes, trains, and comic books to get that exclusive episode, along with all our whole back catalog of episodes for exclusives. And with that, we'll see you guys on the next one.
Bye.